And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed. To you it shall be for food. Genesis 1:29. Man did eat angels' food. He sent them meat to the full. Psalm 78:25. Everyday Manna with Lisa.
Hi everybody, and welcome to Everyday Manna. On today's program, we are going to have dessert. More specifically, we are going to have a lot of chocolate and some beautiful fruit. And so we're just going to make some different desserts that you can serve on any special occasion. Maybe it's a holiday coming up, or maybe you're hosting a bridal shower or anything like that. Or maybe you just want to make a special treat for your family. So today, we are going to be making molten chocolate lava cupcakes. Then we're going to make chocolate strawberry shortcakes. And to finish it off, we're going to be making a beautiful fruit tart out of a puff pastry. And oh, it is just so good. So we're going to get started first on our cupcakes. I have my oven preheated to 375 degrees, and I have lined a muffin tin with just the little paper liners that you get everywhere. And I have sprayed mine because I still spray my liners with the baking nonstick spray. So that's just all I've done up to this point. In my bowl, I have about 6 ounces or so of butter. Now, this particular recipe does not use a whole lot of flour. This has some flour in it, but it's more of a rich chocolatey cupcake, and it's going to be delicious. To my butter, I'm going to add about 1/3 cup of just regular granulated sugar and 1 egg. Now, I just happen to have brown eggs today, but you can use, whatever you have on hand will be fine. And so we want to put our egg in there, and we're just going to beat that on kind of low speed a little bit, well, medium speed, until our butter and our sugars are incorporated. This is one of those desserts that a lot of the restaurants are serving now. You can get the molten lava cake, and they serve it in there. And really and truly, it is not difficult to make at home, and you can make this at home and save yourself a ton of money. I like to do that. A lot of people will ask me, say, where do you get your inspiration for recipes? And I think about things that I like to eat when I go out to eat. I will see a recipe, and I come home and I try to recreate it to the best of my abilities. And I am continually scouring markets, and I was recently out of town, and I just had a ball just going through the food markets to get ideas. When you walk through and you see things that maybe you don't know what they are or how to use them, just simply try to create something that you think will go good. Hey, it's only food. And I'm just a firm believer in trying. You're never going to learn if you don't try new things. I am not a person who likes to eat the same thing day in, day out. I know a lot of people can eat the same food, including my children. They could eat the same thing every day. I am not that way. I have about 1 teaspoon of vanilla that I want to add to that. Let's just kind of stir that in. I love the smell of vanilla. Then, let me kind of beat that off a little bit. I'm going to add, now I always sift, even though they say you do not need to sift the flours today, I just do. I've got about 6 ounces or so of self-rising flour. This is one of those occasions that I do use self-rising. Most of the time, I use all-purpose, but in this recipe, you do need the self-rising. And I've got about, 3 or 4 tablespoons of just I like the dark chocolate cocoa powder, but you use whatever you like. But I like the dark chocolate. I just am a big fan of dark chocolate. And number one, it's just so heart healthy. Is God good or what? He made something that is delicious, healthy for us. The dark chocolate's great for your heart. So that's my excuse to get to eat more. Love it. Absolutely love the dark chocolate. Now, I'm going to add about a couple of tablespoons of heavy whipping cream. You could use half and half. You could use the fat-free versions if you wanted to. I'm just using the heavy whipping cream because that's what I had. Depending on the humidity of your day, I've told you this so many times when you're baking. Now, baking tends to be a very precise measurement, but depending on the humidity of your day, You may need to add, and I can tell you right now, I am going to need to add just a dot more of the heavy whipping cream. Depending on the humidity in the room that you are in, you may need to add a little more liquid. Now this recipe, like I said, doesn't have a lot of flour, and it also doesn't have a lot of liquid. So I'm just going to add probably about an ounce more of the heavy whipping cream. It's a thicker batter. This is not your typical little cupcake batter that runs. This is a thicker batter so that it holds up the chocolate morsels that we're going to put in there. Look how good that looks. So scrape down the sides to get all of that wonderful chocolate. Don't want to waste a morsel of that. Now, you see how thick that is? That's what we want. Let's get our beaters out of there. If I can do this without making a mess. You know how to do that, don't you? Just lift them up as they're spinning. Now, my child, if I was at home, my Austin would be standing at the edge of the counter going, "Give it to me, Mom," because he would be licking these. He would not want me to waste that wonderful chocolate. So let's get our batter in our muffin tins. Let me grab a spoon. We've got 12 lined muffin tins, and I'll show you what you do. You just want to put a little bit, let me make some room here, a little bit down in the bottom. That's going to be a little much. You want to fill them less than halfway full of the chocolate. Let me show you. We'll do one finished here. Then I'll show you what you do. I love these little rubber spatula things for spreading chocolate and things like that around. We might just do it this way. I think that'll be a little easier. Then we're going to take some wonderful chocolate chips. You could use a bar chocolate if you want to. You could put any kind of chocolate that you like in the middle. I am going to use some chocolate, semi-sweet chocolate chips, because I used the dark chocolate in the batter. So we're going to put just some chocolate chips. You could use a bar if you wanted to. Would be perfectly delicious. Just put a few. Put that in the wrong one, didn't I? Oh, well, let's just put those in there. No harm done. Then top it with some more of your batter. Make sure the chocolate chips are covered. Now, the reason that this batter is thicker is so that those chocolate chips will not just sink to the bottom. They will stay in the middle of your cupcake because this batter is so thick. And that's all you do. And then we're going to bake these at 375 for about 20 minutes. I'm just going to finish doing these and get them in the oven. I'm going to take a quick break. When I come back, we're going to start on chocolate strawberry shortcakes. I'll be right back with you in just a minute. Right, now our cupcakes are in the oven and we're going to get started on our strawberry shortcakes. I have got about 2½ cups of all-purpose flour that I've already sifted, and I'm going to sift in about 1/4 cup of chocolate, the dark chocolate cocoa powder. Chocolate's kind of my theme so far, isn't it? That we're going to just sift in our cocoa powder in here. Some down in there that won't go down in the thing. Let's get all that wonderful chocolate. Then I'm going to add about 3 teaspoons or so of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and about 1/8 teaspoon of cinnamon. We're just going to add that right in there, and we're just going to kind of stir that up a little bit with a whisk. Yum, yum, yum. I'm going to add 1/4 cup of just granulated sugar, just regular sugar. Kind of stir that in there. In my little saucepan here, I've got a little bit of whipping cream, about 2 or 3 ounces of whipping cream, and I'm going to add 2 squares of good dark chocolate that I'm going to chop first. I'm using dark. If you want to use semi-sweet, by all means, use your semi-sweet. I'm just heating my cream, and I'm going to add my chocolate here. Get my little scooper. Add that wonderful chocolate. I could just eat that right there and be happy. Love chocolate. I saw a shirt the other day. I was telling the girls here, I said, I saw a shirt the other day that said, "Save the Earth. It's the only planet that has chocolate." And I thought, yeah, I agree with that one wholeheartedly. To that, I'm going to add 3 ounces of cream cheese. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but it just adds a richness to the strawberry shortcakes that you just need. You got to have it. So let's turn our heat up just a little bit now. Keep an eye on that. You do not want that chocolate burning. Now, let's get my whisk, get this kind of moving along. Oops, spilled a little bit. That's okay. Kind of work that cream cheese in with your whisk. It'll just take it a second. I've got it on medium heat. Be careful. Remember, you don't want that chocolate to go anywhere. Let me get that up before that burns on my stove. Hang on just a second. There we go. Now, while that's melting, kind of turn that down a little bit. You don't want that to go anywhere. See how quickly? You see what I mean? We're just dissolving that cream cheese. Turn the heat off of that. And just pull that off. Set that to the side for just a second. I've got 1 stick of butter brought to room temperature that I'm going to just incorporate into my flour mixture with my beaters. You could use a pastry fork if you have one. Turn it down low. That flour is going to go everywhere if you don't. Kind of work your butter in with your beaters to where it resembles about the size of peas, just like you were making biscuits. Just get that in there. Get that butter worked in. I can turn it up. Nope, can't. Work that butter in. Incorporate that in. And what this step does, instead of just melting the butter in with the chocolate, the butter absorbs and gets kind of incorporated with all of the protein molecules in the flour, and that gives structure to your shortcakes or your biscuits or whatever you're making. So that's the importance of just cutting in the butter. Now, if I were at home, I would be using a pastry blender, but I don't have one here, so I'm going to use my beater. I'm going to turn that up just a little bit. You want to get the butter cut into the flour really well. Let's get some of that flour down in there, make sure. I think that's good. And then pour in your beautiful chocolate mixture there. Again, depending on the humidity of your day, and I can tell you right now, I'm going to need to add some more heavy whipping cream, and that's okay. Now, this is a rolled out dough, so it does need to be thick. Let me get a little scraper. Don't want to waste any of that wonderful chocolate. Okay. I'm going to go ahead because I know I'm going to. I can tell just by the look of it. I'm going to add a little bit more of my whipping cream. I would say about 1/4 of a cup, because I could just tell. And based on the last one that we did, I knew it was going to be a stiffer dough. You want a stiffer dough because you're making shortcakes. Remember, you're not making cupcakes, you're making shortcakes. You may even need to add a little bit more. And that's okay. We're just working this poor little motor to death, aren't we? Add just a little more to where it's a workable dough, and then we're going to turn it out on our board and kind of knead it, which is what we want to do. Look at that wonderful chocolateness. All right. Now, really all you want to do is incorporate that chocolate into there. Get that out. Take your rings and your jewelry off because it's time to get dirty. Clear your board here. Put a little bit of flour or cocoa powder, which I think I'm going to do a mixture of both. I'm going to put a little bit of, just a little bit of flour. And where did my cocoa powder go? And I'm going to add just a little bit of cocoa powder to it because, hey, you know, it is chocolate. So let's get that going. Kind of get that spread out over our board. And then take our shortcake dough, and we're going to knead it about 5 or 6 times. I think I may even need to add just a, no, I think we're okay. It's a sticky dough. That's okay. Just kind of knead it like that. Then we're going to roll it out. You see how it just kind of forms a dough? That's exactly what you want. And then we're going to pat it out or roll it out. Let me grab my rolling pin. Not a neat job, but who cares? It tastes good, right? Let me grab my rolling pin. Here, just a second. And just take a little bit of the extra flour that's on your board. And you want to roll this out to about 1/2 inch or so. And then I'm using a round little biscuit cutter, and I'm just going to cut little rounds, and I'm going to place these. Oh, see how it does right there? That's what you want. I'm going to place these on a lined baking sheet and get them in the oven and let them bake for about 10 minutes. I'm going to take a quick break. When I come back, we're going to pull the cupcakes out and we're going to start on the tarts. I'll be right back with you in just a minute. Welcome back. Now, over the break, let me turn this down real quick. I pulled out our molten chocolate cupcakes out of the oven, and all I did was drizzle some white chocolate, melted white chocolate over top of them, and don't they look scrumptious? Our shortcakes also came out of the oven, and I just split them in half, and then I just sliced some strawberries. As you can see, I just sliced some strawberries, mixed it with just a tiny bit of sugar because these were real sweet, and just split them, put some strawberries and some frozen whipped topping that you buy, top them with their lids and more whipped cream over top, and yummy, yummy, yummy chocolate strawberry shortcakes. Now, I've got my oven preheated to 400 degrees, and I have got 1 sheet of puff pastry that I have just, thawed and rolled out a little bit just to kind of get the seams going, and I've cut the edges off 2 sides, so let me do this 3rd side. With puff pastry, I wanted to show you this. Don't do this sawing motion. Just gently press down with a very sharp knife and clean up your edges. You want to pay attention to how we're doing this. Now, what we're going to make are beautiful little packets for our fruit topping, and let me show you. Just cut your puff pastry into, like, I don't know, 3 by 3 or 4 by 4 inch squares, whatever your heart's desire is that day. And let me show you what to do. Take your little puff pastry here. Oops, let me get my knife. Cut a square about 3 by 3. I'll show you a couple. I've already got some made because they do need to bake. So now fold it over into a triangle. Don't press it down too hard, but just kind of fold it into a triangle. Take your knife. You see the point, not the point that has the fold, but the point where the ends meet. Cut about 1/4 of an inch in and leave a little space. You see how we've got about another 1/4 of an inch there? You don't want to cut all the way across. And then turn it around and do the same to the other side. Leaving, let me see if I can show you on the camera, leaving attached on that one end. And then unfold it again. Puff pastry is very, kind of kind of easy to work with as long as it's cold, but once it gets hot, just stick it back in the freezer. All right, you see how we've got the two ends that are not cut? We're going to fold one end over and then take the other end and fold it over to the other side. And what you're making is a beautiful little packet that we're going to put our fruit in. Let me show you again. We're going to place these. Let me show you what we need to do though. Take a beaten egg and just gently lift up one of your edges and brush along the edge. That kind of acts as a glue. And put that down, and then brush over the top of your puff pastry. Try to be careful not to get on the outer edges where you have cut, because that will keep, it acts as a glue, and then it won't puff up as much as it would if you did not cover that. Now let me show you that again, because that's a little bit complicated, but it is so cute. You don't have to make them decorative. If you want to just cut squares, and they got flour all over me here, and then cut, you know, and just bake them like that, that'd be fine. Or you could, let me show you something else we could do. If you don't want to, let me show you one the way we did it, and then I'll show you something else. Fold it over, and not your folded end, but this end, cut into it about 1/4 of the way in, and again, about 1/4 of a way in, and you're leaving that attached. Then unfold, fold over, just like that. And I'll show you why we're doing this in just a second. And then take your egg wash on the outer edges, and then lift up your cut and put down a little bit of your egg wash in there just to kind of glue that down. Put it on a lined parchment paper, but let me show you an easier way. If you don't want to make them that decorative, let me show you something else you could do. Take a square and then cut another piece and just lay over them if you wanted to do that. What you're really aiming to do is have a little basket type thing for your, you could do it this way too if you didn't want to do it the other way. It doesn't matter. It's pretty. Put your glue down. I should have put my glue down first. Let me glue my edges here. And then take your strips and lay across. You can do that too if you don't want to make the little pretty little diamonds. But let me show you what that ends up looking like. They are so cute. I've already got some baked and cooled. Now, this is what your final product, 400 degrees for about 7 to 10 minutes, and you get these little shells. You see how we've got that little middle section? We're going to fill that up with some deliciousness here in just a second. I've got about 6 ounces of cream cheese. I've got about 1/4 of a cup of powdered sugar. I have added some candied ginger. This is so easy to find now in your grocery stores. Over where they sell the spices, you can find candied ginger. Delicious. If you can't find the candied ginger, you can leave it out. It's perfectly fine. I'm going to add about a couple of teaspoons of just my favorite, just an almond flavored coffee flavoring. And you're going to beat that up. Turn that up just a little bit. And on my stove, I have melted just a little bit of seedless blackberry jam, because that's what I like. You could use strawberry, you could use apple, you can use whatever kind of fruit preserve that you like. You could use jelly, you could use jams. It really doesn't matter. Use what you like. To that, I'm going to stir in just about a capful of almond extract, not vanilla, but almond extract. You could use vanilla if you did not have the almond. I just like the flavor of the almond. Just whip that in there. So good. Get that out. Now, take your little, see, I've got just some melted, I use seedless blackberry jam, but you can use whatever you like. Let me get a little spoon. I'm so excited about this because, when I made these at home, I literally, out of a whole puff pastry sheet, Mike and I ate them all but 2. I shared with my mother and I shared with a friend of mine. Take a little bit of your cream cheese mixture, put down in the bottom of your little tartlet, your little shell. Then take another spoon of your wonderful little jam. Just a little spoonful. This would be a perfect little dessert to serve at a shower, at a reception of any kind, at a wedding, or Easter, or Christmas, or any time. Spring, celebrate spring, whatever you want to do, and then it's just delicious. I found at my store some gorgeous strawberries and raspberries and blackberries. Put you a couple of your little pieces of fruit, whatever kind of fruit you like is perfectly fine, and then we're going to drizzle some melted chocolate. We've melted just some semi-sweet chocolate chips with some heavy cream. I've got white and dark chocolate. We're just going to drizzle a little bit over top. Just like that. And you have got just a gorgeous, gorgeous, delicious, delicious tart. Let me drizzle some white chocolate here. And there you go. You can make these desserts for your family any day of the week. Your family is special. Cook for them. I am out of time. I hope that you've enjoyed today's show. Remember, we've got our wonderful molten chocolate strawberry molten chocolate cupcakes, our chocolate strawberry shortcakes, and our beautiful, beautiful, look how pretty that is, our beautiful little fruit tartlets. I hope you'll try these recipes, and I'll see you next time on Everyday Manna.
Thank you for watching Everyday Manna with Lisa. This program is made possible by viewers like you. Your support is continually needed to keep Christian programming on the air. Please send your best financial gift to Living Faith Television in care of Everyday Manna, P.O. Box 1867, Abingdon, Virginia 24212.